Episode 313. It's really, really you. In the noises, many people had recognized who he was. Everyone in the city knew this person. However, for 4 years, everyone thought he was dead. Now he suddenly appeared here in this way? God, a ghost! Serena stared at him as she walked closer to him, step by step. Jake was getting more and more real, closer and closer, and more familiar. Holding a large bouquet of flowers, his pair of cold and sharp eyes were as dark as the night sky, so dazzling that she felt like a dream. Serena suddenly dared not to pass, holding the flowers from those people with her hands. She had tears on her face and opened her mouth. She trembled and asked, "Is it you?" Her voice was not big, trembling fearfully with a hint of whimper. She was so careful, afraid that if she were too loud, he would disappear like he used to. For many times he had appeared in front of her, but as long as she moved a little, or if she breathed a little heavily, he would break. No matter how she looked for him, he never appeared again. She was afraid. So afraid. What if this was not real? What if this was just an illusion? Just her delusion? What should she do? Hearing this, he smiled a little. Holding flowers in one hand, he spread his other arm, his voice cold and gentle. Softly, he said, "I am back." It is him! It is him! Really him! Serena's hands shook and the large bouquet of flowers in her hands all fell to the ground. Serena ran forward. Her long hair was flying up as she ran. The petite body hit the tall figure hard with everyone watching and screaming. Stunned, Serena reached out and hugged him. Jake was as stable as a mountain and hugged her tightly. She only felt that his arms on her waist was tight, and that a wonderful feeling was almost making her cry. Real touch. Real temperature. Real. It's really you. It's really you. Serena buried her head in his chest, and then she couldn't help but burst into tears. Jake, you bastard! Hugging him back, she slammed him back and screamed, "Bastard! Idiot! Ungrateful wolf!" He was holding her waist, feeling that she was truly in his arms, feeling incredibly satisfied. At the same time, there was a long-lost happiness wrapping him up. Kissing her hair, Jake whispered, "It's me. It's me." Serena's tears were all smeared on his new clothes as she cried, unscrupulously, like when a child who was aggrieved suddenly saw an adult who she could rely on. It goes without saying how happy she was. Holding him tighter and tighter, she refused to let go and did not dare to let go. Someone started singing and others followed. The voices of men and women were intertwined as they sang loudly. "I finally found you. Luckily I didn't give up. Happiness is not easy, so I will cherish it even more." Mr. Robinson. Yes. Jake. Yes. Darling. Yes. I have been waiting for you for 4 years. Serena hugged him, and the crying had gradually stopped. She said, "I've always believed that you were not dead." Jake held her. Without speaking, he only held her tighter and tighter. "The past 4 years, I gave birth to our children. Do you know that? A boy and a girl. Twins. And your company. I became the president of your company. Do you know that?" Pursing his lips, he felt his eyes were hot. Hugging her silently, he slowly said after a long while, "I know." He knew everything, but the more he knew, the more guilt he felt. She was just a woman and she had to bear so much, and he was the biggest culprit. Serena suddenly smiled and became calm. Her voice low, she said, "Look, I can live well without you." Jake hugged her with one hand and whispered in her ear, "Now I'm back, you will live better." Serena put her arms around his neck and the people around them shouted, "Kiss! Kiss! Kiss!" Her face turned red. Her eagerness for a kiss shrank back as the crowd called. She slapped him and said, "Put me down." Jake chuckled, released her and whispered, "Let's go back first. Look at how wet you are." "I am not." "I didn't mean that. What were you thinking?" Serena was not liking that. But hearing that from him, she immediately blushed. Pushing him away, she complained, "Shameless." Jake pulled her back and whispered into her ear, his voice gentle with a little teasing. "I'm also wet. Feel it if you don't believe me. Come, reach inside." As Jake spoke, he grabbed her hand and pulled it into his clothes. She quickly pulled her hand away and pushed him hard, then she turned and left. Jake caught up with a rose and reached for her hand. Serena was caught, and Jake took advantage of the situation and stuffed the rose in his hand into her arms. Looking at the large bouquet of roses and more of them on the square, Serena said, "It's too wasteful. You can't spend money like this even if you're rich." There was a total of 100 flower baskets in the square. Each basket contained 999 roses, plus the 99 held by Serena, coming to 99,999, which was too extravagant. Jake smiled, pinched her nose, and ridiculed. "Being the president for a few years, now you know that your husband's money is hard-earned." Serena was going to say something to refute, but seeing his face that was obviously thinner, she touched it with sorrow. It was much thinner and pale. He was really locked up, right? He was so pale that on the back of his hand she could clearly see the color of his blood vessels. It was a bit frightening to look at. Serena almost did not hold back her tears. Resisting the urge to cry, she whispered, "Go home first." Jake's look became soft. Holding her little hand in his palm, he said softly, "Okay." At this time, Serena suddenly remembered that there was another person there. Looking back, where was Henry in the crowd?